Welcome to the first episode of the WCW Nitro recap series for 1997. Before we get started, let's have a look at the current champions in the company. The WCW World Heavyweight Champion is Hollywood Hogan. The United States Champion is Eddie Guerrero. The Television Champion is Lord Steven Regal. The Cruiserweight Champion is the Ultimo Dragon. The Tag Team Champions are the Outsiders, Scott Hall and Kevin Nash. And finally, the WCW Women's Champion is Akira Hokuto. Also, to catch up on recent events, Roddy Piper defeated Hollywood Hogan at Starrcade 2 weeks ago. The next night on Nitro, he was destroyed by the nWo and Hogan. And on the same night, the Giant was kicked out of the nWo and attacked by the group. Now with that out of the way, let's get into the show. It's January 6th, 1997, and this is the 69th episode of WCW Nitro. Our commentary team for the first hour is Tony Schiavone and the living legend Larry Zbyszko. Nitro opens with the undefeated Glacier taking on Bobby Eaton.
Bad habits in terms of single competition
ever seen. We saw it last week on the mess, and there's a lot of talk about what happened.
Glacier wins at 1 minute and 56 seconds with an outside kick or super kick to Eaton. Next we have a recap of the recent nWo defection of Big Bubba. Bubba joined the nWo 3 weeks ago after attacking his Dungeon of Doom teammate Conan. Now 3 weeks removed from the initial attack, Conan and Bubba are having a Mexican strap match tonight. Conan heads to the ring with Jimmy Hart representing the Dungeon of Doom, while the nWo's Big Bubba enters alone.
For the entire dungeon.
Well, like a lightweight. That's why they virtually has to be unconscious. And look at Bubba.
The match ends in 5 minutes and 52 seconds with Conan touching 3 of the turnbuckles. Big Bubba would pull Conan away from the 4th. However, Bubba would uppercut Conan and he would fall into the 4th turnbuckle, giving Conan the win. Frustrated, Bubba attacks Conan after the match. Next, Mean Gene interviews Kevin Sullivan backstage. Sullivan addresses his issues with Chris Benoit and Woman. Mean Gene alludes to a videotape that Sullivan may want to see. Kevin says he doesn't want to see any more videos. He's sick of seeing videos of Nancy and Benoit. But Gene tells Sullivan that it doesn't involve Nancy and alludes to Sullivan that he actually may know what the video is and he may not want it released. After a commercial break, Mean Gene is on the Nitro ramp to interview the 4 Horsemen. Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, and Steve McMichael with Miss Deborah head out to Mean Gene. However, it is evident that Benoit and Woman are a no-show tonight. Gene points out the obvious, asking the Horsemen about the whereabouts of the missing Horsemen, Chris Benoit and Woman. Arn is noticeably disappointed by Benoit not being here, although it has to be noted that Arn was not there with the Horsemen last week. But as for Flair, he was thrilled for both of them, especially for Woman, citing that she's been married to the devil himself for 10 years and she deserves a night out with Benoit. Miss Deborah uses her time on the mic to diss Woman and campaign for Jeff Jarrett to be a Horseman and to replace what she calls a part-time Horseman in Chris Benoit. Jeff Jarrett comes out and suggests to Flair that he should be a Horseman and would replace Benoit. However, Arn interrupts. Jarrett tells Arn that he didn't come here to talk to the horse's rear, he came here to talk to the head of the Horseman, Ric Flair. Obviously, Arn didn't like this and Arn attacks Jeff Jarrett, and the two brawl towards the ring, and we've got a match going on here.
Anderson. Be a tight-knit rookie and all outside fight, and Anderson 1, 2, 3.
The match ends when Jarrett pins Arn with his feet on the rope. After the match, Deborah continues to vouch for Jarrett. The Horsemen argue between themselves until Mongo sides with Deborah and Jarrett. Flair keeps Arn from getting at Jarrett, and Arn says to hell with this and leaves the ring alone. Jarrett would exit with the rest of the Horsemen, possibly hinting at Jarrett's joining the Horsemen. Now moving on to our 4th match of the night, DDP's music plays, but he's not there. He's scheduled to take on Lord Steven Regal for the television title. The television title match is still happening as Jim Duggan heads to the ring to take on Steven Regal in place of DDP. Before the match can begin, the nWo, Kevin Nash, Six, and Eric Bischoff take over the announcer's booth as Schiavone and Zbyszko leave, not wanting any issues. Whilst on commentary, the nWo suggests that DDP didn't show up for his match because he's having an important meeting with Scott Hall, and now he's a part of the nWo.
The first Miss NWO. American Motor starts, you had a chance. Liz could call.
The match ends in a time limit draw right after Jim Duggan hits Regal with a big right hand. But it seems WCW has a weird time limit because this match ended at about 8 minutes and 26 seconds. After the commercial break, Tony Schiavone and Larry Zbyszko are back on commentary. The next match is Hugh Morris taking on Jim Powers with Teddy Long.
Man, that should be
from injury sustained last.
I couldn't make it out.
Saturday the 25th of January.
Morris wins a little over a minute here with a moonsault. Now we move on to the second hour of Nitro. Tony Schiavone is joined at the commentary booth by Bobby Heenan and Mike Tenay. The first match of the second hour is Psychosis versus Rey Mysterio Jr.
One thing he really wants. It has really stepped up a notch. Oh my goodness! Has the cruiserweight title in a lot of time since Eric takes it up, waiting. He up and down.
It's a fun match as you would expect from the cruiserweights. Rey defeats Psychosis with the springboard Hurricane Rana at 6 minutes and 43 seconds. Kevin Sullivan is now taking on Chavo Guerrero Jr.
Packed in our sport.
To have turned up that intensity to another level.
Sullivan defeats Chavo at about 2 minutes after a running knee strike to the midsection, followed up by a double chest stomp to Chavo. Next we get a clip of Roddy Piper after the nWo's attack last week. We see Piper taken away in an ambulance. Although what we don't see in this clip is that moments later this was when the Giant would be kicked out of the nWo. We'll see a follow-up for this later. The next match is apparently for the WCW United States Championship, and Eddie Guerrero is taking on Alex Wright.
Great young man as well. Deserved. He has to go into it to try to get the belt. Champion Alex.
During the match, Six walks out with Eddie's US title and sits atop a ladder and just taunts Eddie while he's wrestling. Eddie is distracted momentarily. Wright tries to get a quick victory here, however, the match would continue on.
Alex Wright just back from the top rope.
Up and down. Double axe out there with the ladder. Up and down.
Eddie would win the match with a superplex followed up by the frog splash. Now after the free count, Eddie would immediately pursue Six, but Six would run backstage before Eddie could get to him. Harlem Heat, Booker T and Stevie Ray with Sister Sherry versus the amazing French Canadian with Colonel Robert Parker. In the closing moments, Carl attempts to use the French Canadian flag as a weapon. Booker T avoids it, and Carl hits Jacques. Harlem Heat capitalize and hit the double team for the win. The next match is Lex Luger versus Meng.
So whatever it is that Jimmy Hart's
First time back in the ring with ease. I don't think he's gonna. Oh, the top right bleeds world. Led. Okay, pick up and down again. Luger scoop slams it.
Luger puts Meng into the rack. The referee gets knocked down and the Barbarian interferes. Luger overcomes the attack from both Meng and the Barbarian, and then he racks up the Barbarian. The ref gets back up and calls for the bell, I guess believing that the Barbarian is Meng, and Luger is declared the winner. They do wear the same ring gear, but they completely two different guys. To end the show, Hollywood Hogan heads to the ring with the entire nWo. Hogan and Bischoff throw insults to Roddy Piper and the Giant. Bischoff is acting as if Hogan beat Piper at Starrcade. Hogan then begins to insult the Giant. The Giant storms out to the ring and ends up taking on the whole nWo.
Slam. Yes, into it. Look at that. Nothing now time, or can he? His feet in the air.
The Giant takes out all the nWo members until he's left with Hogan. The Giant takes Hogan down, and Bischoff attacks him from behind. Distracted with Bischoff, Hogan then attacks the Giant with a chair, and the nWo joins in whilst Hogan continues to lay in the shots of the Giant. Bischoff gets the final shot in before posing with the title. The nWo leave Giant laying in the ring. They then walk and take over the commentary booth. Whilst they are there, Sting heads out to the ring and gets in the Giant's face. Sting then points to the nWo with his bat. The nWo joke around that Sting is sending a point of approval towards them. Sting leaves his bat in the ring with the Giant. Hogan then sends Vincent to the ring to get the bat left by Sting. Vincent grabs the bat, starts poking the Giant with it. This wakes the Giant up. The Giant gets up and chokeslams Vincent. The nWo comes back down to take on the Giant once more, but this time he fights them off with Sting's bat. We then get a shot of Sting looking back at the Giant to close the show. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next episode of WCW Recap Series, the Nitro Recap Series. Also, don't forget about the WWF Raw Recap Series.